Away. Not alve, which is sadness and pain and agony, but away. Listen up. Listen to the pebbles of your ancestors. Away. It would do me great pleasure to take a moment. Please continue eating and having a good time, but if we could listen up to each other. Away. E na ali'e, e ke au ihala. E nana mai I mako na pula pula one au e holone. E ala mai kako e na kini na mamo o ka aina aloha. Aloha vala ai aina ko kakoa kahua. Ao ka eli'ie I ka ho'opuehu. One of the most beautiful words I've ever heard. Ho'opuehu iene. E pai pai ho I ka pohaku. I pa'ala mala kai. Kahua hale ho. No kako e na pua e ho'olua ai. E ala e ka'i. Kamahi. Kapelena. Ka Mondo. I mua a loa ka le o ka lana kila. Our friend Mondo, many of us have known as long as we've known anyone. Our friend Mondo had a spirit of joyfulness and playfulness that I've never encountered otherwise. I'm a pretty happy person. Mondo had a competitiveness. When he and I would match up, he was the shortest guy, so I'm the shortest guy other than Carl. And we'd match up on each other, and we'd give our all. And one time I blocked him. But this isn't about me. This is about the 400,000 hucks Mondo made in his lifetime. I don't know how many, but I'm guessing it's got to be hundreds of thousands of hucks. Down the beach, down the fields, wherever there was a frisbee, Mondo wanted to throw it. He threw tiny little mini frisbees at this stupid little golf thing. He threw them 70 yards down the field to Jeff Iversley running full speed. He threw them short to Brant Dickey. He threw them. He would even dump once in a while to me. It was pretty rare. It did happen. I have photographic proof. Of course, I threw it in the trees. But Mondo, you know, in your lifetime, you're allowed, you know, like so many great friends, like true friends. And in my lifetime, Mondo's, you know, he's on the one hand list. And I hope that he was there for many of you. That beautiful flick, when it would come out of his hand and it would just grace the sky and it would just fly. I mean, I never had that. Some of you have that. I never had that beautiful throw that he had, and it just, and he would deliver with such joy. You know, it was a gift for Mondo to throw the frisbee to you, or a disc, excuse me. I want to be politically correct. So when that, it's just in the air, but it was. He would throw balloons, water balloons, and he would make bubbles, and he would stand on his head, and he would ride a moped naked, and it was just an endless abundance of joy that Mondo gave all of us. And then there was another side of him. We're in Costco buying yogurts and muffins, and he has his list, and he's like, okay, we need 27, what's, you know. And he had this whole other Mondo side of him that was just like so confident and sure, and his guidance was so pure. And the tournament went from, you know, we had a nice little thing going, to what they have going now, and there's no one that can be more accredited for that success than Mondo. Certainly Buffy, Gina, Rachel, and all these teams that have come on past us old people are doing magnificent work. But without Mondo, we wouldn't be where we are today with the tournament. His guidance, his steady hand, his playfulness. That's, to me, the thing that I love the most. This is a little exercise that I would like to take. Some of you are standing up, so raise your hands. If you knew Mondo in the 1970s, raise your hand. That was the start of Red Hots and Townies. How many? Molly?
1970s.
1980s, when Ultimate really started going. 1990s. 2000s. 2010s. We got some... Come on, louder! 2010! 2020s? Well, we didn't have a whole lot going on in the 2020s. But the spirit of Mondo will rise over us, will carry us, and will always be with us. Tonight, there's some beautiful pictures going on behind us. There's a table in the back where you can make a statement if you'd like to. There's some really cool pictures. The tiki, which was a special emblem for Mondo. He loved Kaimana Classic. He loved Hopu. He loved playing Ultimate. He loved all of you. And I know he loved me. And I loved him. I'd like to bring up Dave Molinar.
All right, Raymond Oscar Mondo Chun. Mondo. That's how we all knew him, right? So I met Mondo early on, so I want to tell you a few stories of the early days. So I landed in Hawaii on March 1st, 1981, and my buddy Fuzz, who was here somewhere, had met Mondo just earlier. There's Fuzz, cruising through Waikiki, and had a disc in his hand, and Mondo yelled out, and Fuzz fired him a two-finger and caught it. And he found out about Pickup Ultimate at the Cook Fields at UH. And so I landed on a Sunday, and there was Tuesdays and Thursdays, and so I met Mondo on that Tuesday, which was March 3rd, so it would be 42 years ago come March. So, long time ago. And so in mid-May, there was a boat that used to be anchored out here called Unamara, and one of the guys, Eric Schiff, that played as part of that pickup team up there, was skippering a boat to deliver it for Transpac, but taking it up to the mainland to sail it back. And halfway there, he challenged me and Fuzz to create a team from the windward side, and he was going to create a team on the leeward side called the Leeward the Leeward Lava Rockers and the Windward Red Eyes. Now, I can't quite remember why we called ourselves the Red Eyes, but I'll let you think about that. So we met for 11 weekends in a row and played. And after every one of those events, we barbecued. And that group became bigger and bigger. And so Mondo was a part of that Leeward, that team there. And then after those weekends, we probably had, I don't know, we had enough for 4 teams. And Eric Schiff had the idea again, said, hey, why don't you create a league? I'm like, okay, great. He goes, oh, but I'm busy. I got to start my career. And so it kind of got dumped on me. And so we did that for at least, I can't really remember if it went on for a year and a half, 2 years, but my career was starting to build, and I was starting to kind of burn out, and I really enjoyed playing, but I couldn't do it all. And so who did I turn to?
Mondo.
It was Mondo, okay? And so I approached Mondo, and he had another friend called Tom Baudet, and I met with them, and we discussed it, and they took over, and they even created a newsletter called the Fly Lay Express.
Yeah, there's a copy in the back.
Remember that? And so I think that was the first time for Mondo to step into a leadership role. Okay, it was at that point, and he never stepped away. Right? So that was the beginnings of Mondo stepping up when he was needed, and it was really appreciated, and he was there for all of us during that time. Just a couple of stories too is like, Mondo is all about food, right? There's lots of stories of Mondo with food. And he was, in his early working career, he was a prep cook at Nick's Fish Market.
Yes.
And again, Fuzz, remember on Malunio Street, we were renting that house there? And this is back in the day when I remember buying a mattress for $10 at Salvation Army. That's what I was sleeping on. And ramen, and to spice it up with a little carrots and potatoes was a good meal back then. Mondo shows up to this party with a 5-gallon bucket full of shrimp scampi on ice. And he's carrying a block of solid garlic butter. And we break out a frying pan, and he started to saute that up. And I will never forget that day. That was so good. But he was always involved in food, and I'm sure a lot of others have stories, but that was kind of the beginning days that I remember of that. Also just wanted to share one, there were so many different parties for different events, definitely with Ultimate, but also we had mountain biking parties, there was Halloween parties, and one of the classic Halloween parties is, and Mondo always enjoyed costumes, and he's got a doctor's coat on, and he's got a box over his head, and it's all wrapped in aluminum foil, and it's a big box, and his head is in the back side of the box, and it's out here, and there's these 2 curves in front, and he's got a sign, free mammogram tests. Mondo was a breast man. And I didn't see it, but I heard that he actually had a couple of examinations that he was able to do that evening, so. But, yeah, Mondo was quite a character. And then just a little story on his work life. He was a prep cook there at Nick's Fish Market, and then he was the kitchen manager for a long time. And then he was working for a food distributor. And my business had been growing. This is now 2001. And I had hired Mikey Roman in 1996, another Ultimate player. But I needed somebody to really work with my clients that could also step in and maybe do a presentation. But when you're hiring a friend, you really want to be careful about that, right? Because they're moving from another career and working for you, but also just that relationship. And I didn't want to have that, damaged in any way. So I observed him for quite a while. Nobody really knew about that. I never really shared this much at all. But I remember watching at a Kaimana 2001, and I'm sitting in the end zone at the finals watching, and it's the classic halftime, and here comes Mondo running around naked, tossing discs, and I'm sitting...
That's the guy I want for my business.
Yeah. And I turn to the guy, Mondo goes by, and I turn to the guy and goes, I'm thinking about hiring that guy. What do you think? The guy didn't reply. And I continued to observe him, and then that spring we had I think we called it the state overalls, right, where there was disc golf and run, throw, catch.
Oh, yeah.
A big one was DDC, double disc throw, right? And I think we probably had like 6, maybe even 8 teams. I mean, it was a big turnout for this. And of course there's rules, and so Mondo being 5'4", so he's standing on a cooler. And so we're all out there, and he's explaining the rules. And these are the days of the Keek and Kirk show. Okay? 2 very gifted athletes, great throwers, highly competitive, and brothers. Okay? And so they both had some incredible throws. So it was all about the angle that they were coming in. And so Mondo handled all of this beautifully. And okay, if he can do this, he can get up in the front of crowd, in front of some employees, and take my place. and fill some roles. So at that point in time, I started to approach him, and he worked with me for 14 years before he was disabled. So he was also highly loved on that other side. So that other side, he was known as Raymond, okay, to all my clientele. And even years after his disability, I delivered Christmas to some of my biggest clients, and they would ask, "Hey, how's Raymond? How's Raymond?" And one of the big insurance companies, their offices was out of Portland, Oregon, and there's about 60 people there. And Raymond even went out, he was on a disability insurance plan that I had had for him. He was collecting benefits. And probably in that first 3 to 4 years of his disability, he was pretty mobile. And he actually went and visited on one of his trips to them. And so they too kept asking all the time about Raymond, you know. So it's kind of that story of everybody loved Raymond, right? And so just wanted to share that with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I'm sorry I wasn't a very good employee.
You worked for me for about 8 months.
Yeah, I changed your business. That's okay. At this time, we are blessed to have some musicians. We have Tammy and Anje. They are going to perform for us. So as they're coming up and getting ready, one of the things that Mondo loved was yucca. But one of the beautiful things about yucca was the chant that we had for yucca. So instead of saying yucca, I thought maybe we should try Mondo. Dooza, you gonna help me here? Mondo, Mondo. Everybody, come on. Louder. Mondo, Mondo, Mondo.
Oh, yes. Front row, yeah.
Ladies. Hi there. I'd like to invite anyone who knows the words to go ahead and sing along. I don't think it's on, but if you know the words, sing along.
I was told to turn it off. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe?
Yeah.
You are right. Oh, there's just two separate words. Yeah. Are we good? Good? Okay. All right. 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. Some bright morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to that home, 'cause
Beautiful song. Thank you. And what a thought to fly away from the pain we all know that Mondo was in. But even at the darkest times of his struggle, he was always there for us. And he would smile and he would try. He beat me and Mark at cribbage on New Year's Eve. This sneaky little guy. Mondo was always there for us. It's my pleasure to bring up Gina and Dave, who'd like to say a few things.
Testing. Can you hear me now? So I'm Dave Strang, and this is Gina Klein, and we're here to represent the younger generation.
50 with 6.
We're still 40.
40? Who's 40 anymore? So Gina's gonna, when it's her turn, she's gonna say some thank yous, but I just wanted to take this moment to thank Gina, who, I didn't tell her I was gonna do this. She's done a lot of work organizing this, but also keeping people informed about how Mondo's been doing over the years, and so thank you. So some of you might have seen on the back table back there, there's this solid brass, heavy as fuck statue of Mondo. Be careful if you try to pick it up. It is seriously heavy and can do some damage. But that's the Mondo Chun Spirit of Kaimana trophy. Some of you old folks might not know about this. But this was created to honor the person who is really generous about giving and working hard and doing everything they can to make Kaimana and Hawaii Ultimate and support all of that happen. And I'll try to be brief because you already know what a generous and giving person he was. I do find it a little funny though, because when I hear a Spirit Award and I hear Mondo, I think hats being thrown and chairs being smashed.
Yes.
Maybe it explains like the big stockpile of chairs he had at his house. But it just goes to show you how much he gave to the Hawaii community, because to name this trophy after a notorious chair smasher. Nobody gave more, nobody worked harder than Mondo did. Whether it was waking up at 4 a.m. to make breakfast for hundreds of people at Kaimana, bringing things back from Vegas for his poker buddies, cooking and packing for his biking crew, brushing women's hair for hours, consoling and reassuring Kevin Kelly, who was the Hopu TD when it totally got washed out and canceled. Not to mention the naked horse riding, Kaimana halftime Oreo throwing. Raise your hand if you have not seen Mondo naked. That's what I thought. He was also really welcoming to everyone. He made everyone feel at home. As soon as you met him, you felt like you've known him forever. This turned out to be a little problematic for Alex Globerson, whose mom could no longer tell the two of them apart on Facebook, and was tagging Mondo as Alex. And countless people have said that Mondo was the one who brought them into Hawaii Ultimate, especially if you're a cute girl. When I first started playing Ultimate, we played at this pickup game at UH, and we had all sorts of funky local rules. Like we had these square end zones. You had to score through the front plane of the end zone. Like trees were out of bounds, and then we changed the rules and they weren't out of bounds. Like there's no sidelines. The street was in as long as you didn't get hit by a car. Occasionally people would come by and invite us to join hula, but we heard kind of stories. You guys were a little intense. So we weren't really into that. Eventually, they let us join as just our own team. We're the bok choy team. Give up for bok choy. But when we were playing, the one person who always went out of his way to make us feel welcome was Mondo, even though the rest of you all were a little intense. That was great. Outside of Ultimate, though, he was always very welcoming. My wife, who is not an Ultimate player and is not at all convinced we're not some sort of weird cult, and she's not entirely wrong, has said that Mondo is the one who always made her feel comfortable and welcome in our little cult. So thank you, Mondo, for welcoming me and everyone else to Hawaii Ultimate.
So Dave and I practiced, and he definitely did not thank me in his practice. But I also have speaking of welcoming us into the community, I don't know if any of you have seen this book before, but it's a published book by Ben Bergen. So besides being welcoming of Dave in like the ultimate way, Ben wrote about Mondo welcoming Dave in another way. So this book is about how swear words have evolved from like nouns to verbs and back to nouns again. So if you look on page 163, if anyone wants to borrow the book, it's here. I've read it numerous times, but I'll try. It's I'm keeping it light for the children. But sorry, you can read it if you want. But it happened at K-Bart's league party when he used to live on Kalananole. And the quote from the book is that Dave fell asleep at a party, so Ray teabagged him. That means Ray put a certain body part on Dave, and knowing the two of them, there's probably a picture of it somewhere, and I've seen the picture. It is out there. I just thought I would share that story of Mondo welcoming Dave in another way. I think Chris Hurwitz has the picture if anyone wants to see it. Okay, so I thought I'd add a few thank yous as well. I wanted to thank Rick and Gumby for having us at this venue. They're the ones coordinated the venue space. And to Dave Molnar, who was not only an awesome boss for Mondo, but also helped be our contact person with Mondo's family, which I know, Dave, that thank you so much for doing that. And also for JoJo, for being like Mondo's kind of liaison on the nurse side and helping him and us all learn about the progression of his illness. Thanks to Kaveh and Lori Daniels, who helped with the slideshow. I think it looks awesome. And Tammy put together the photo board on the back wall, so thanks for your help with that, Tammy. Suzanne brought the book for everyone to write their favorite Mondo stories in, and that's also going to be at Kaimana. So if you want to put something in there for the newer players to read about Mondo's storied history, you can add some thoughts there. Looking around this room and seeing all the people who Mondo loved and who loved Mondo, sorry, I'm going to cry, I'm totally going to cry, makes me realize how special of a guy he really was. And I feel really blessed to have shared all the moments I got to with him. Sorry, just wait. I met him in 2001. It was right when I moved to Hawaii for grad school, and I met him. He welcomed me into the Frisbee community, just like many of you, and he was always a friendly face when I came out to the fields. When I think of Mondo, I think of kindness, generosity, mentorship, guidance, authenticity, selflessness, spontaneity, and joyfulness. It's so much joy. So Mondo is such a generous soul. From his time to his energy to anything he had to give, he would give it. And I remember first meeting him and thinking, whose house is filled literally up to the brim with all things ultimate? Like if you went to that house in Ainahaina, it was like filled up to all the tops of all the shelves with everything he had. And I realized very quickly that Mondo was the heart and soul and keeper of all things amazing gadgetry related to Hawaii Ultimate, from the best like swag items from every tournament to the most sturdy sideline chairs that could withstand spiking and kicking and spiking again And he was willing to share it all with all of us. Sorry, I wrote some things down. I need to look. Like a resilient sideline chair, Mondo and my relationship stood the test of time for 20 plus years, and I feel like it evolved from many stages, and I have great memories from all of them. He started off as an amazing mentor, helping us learn the ins and outs of organizing the Kaimana tournament, from where to hide the cheese balls and when to bring them out, at what point in the party at night. He taught me how to start that hot shower up on the hill without him, so that he could be out in like a spirit circle with the Hot Lava Ladies or some other teams. We evolved into teammates, adventure buddies, and close friends that feel like family. I'll miss our chats when he's at the grill and also carving the turkey at Thanksgiving. I think that was one of the pictures. Our friendship not only revolved around Frisbee, but we had many other outlets for friendly competition. As you know, Mondo was very competitive. We played lots of cornhole. We had sneaky spoons on Molokai. I don't know if any of you remember that. It was a hat draw on Molokai. Lots of washers and fast-paced tile games also on Molokai. About 10 years ago, Mondo found out that a bunch of us were playing euchre, and he went out and bought a box set of euchre rules and learned the ins and outs of every dialect of every euchre game from the East Coast to the West Coast. And for the last 10 years, we've been playing euchre regularly, either at our house on Bertram Street or over in the Hawaii Kai facility. And he, I'll always remember his giddy face when he got a goat alone hand, or if he got skunked, we had this rule where he had to do a naked lap. And those naked laps up at Bertram were crazy. It was out the sliding glass door in the rain. And then grab something from our tree, but it's a hat or a lei or something like that, run around, and the neighbors thought we were doing a weekly church group, and I think they quickly realized that that's not what was happening. I think it was you, Alex, and Mondo were running down the alleyway between the neighbor's house, out the front door, back in, every time we got to go at a lone hand. Mondo somehow mastered the art of being supportive and reliable, but also being playful and mischievous. And I feel blessed to have shared all of the moments that I got with him. So here's to Mondo. If you have a glass, maybe raise your glass. Who made this world a brighter place? May you rest in love and peace, and know that all of our lives are better because you were in it.
Thank you, young people. That was beautiful, Dave and Gina. So, the formal part of the program is nearing an end, and I appreciate you all sitting and listening. I'd like to bring up Gumby, damn it. Gumby, damn it, Mondo, and myself formed hula one night over a bunch of shots. Gumby wrote him, I put him in place, and Mondo made it all happen. So, most of you don't know, maybe many of you do, but Pam and Raymond lived together for 7 glorious years. So, here's her thunder being stolen. Gumby, damn it.
Okay, great. I came up here, I made some notes before I came up here, and I'm going to be much shorter than everybody else. But I wanted to say thank you to Gina and Dave and Kaveh, who did the beautiful, and Alex, who did the wonderful sound and music. But I also, Dave Moley, I don't want to miss him either, because really, I was out of town when all this was planned. So I just said, I'll ask if it's available here. So I also have to thank my sweetheart, Rick. A lot of people know him as Poach, but really, it's funny to have the party here because Raymond hated the water. And But we had a lot of parties here with him because he would always come after. So he's in the photographs, but he's always just like sitting at a table. He was never on a boat or anything like that. So, and Rick, thank you for all the parties that we had here. We had plenty of Friday nights and silly times. So this is great, and I appreciate that. I wanted to say, I moved here in 1983, late 1983, and I met Mondo in 1984 when I was playing volleyball with Neil Evanuse. Does anybody remember him, Neil? Okay. At Bishop Museum, and that's where I was working, at Bishop Museum. And we were playing volleyball, and he was like, oh, isn't this so much fun? And I said, oh, I would prefer ultimate. And he said, oh, you play ultimate, you gotta go to Kapiolani Park and meet this guy, Raymond Chun. Well, I did, the next opportunity, and the rest is history. So, Rick and I did live with Raymond from 1987 to 1994. Is that right? Yeah, that's 1994. And so we had a lot of fun in that house, the OEO house, the Aina, I think that's the same Aina Haina house that we're talking about. Many good parties. I can't talk about all of the parties because we're in a public place. So I thought I had edited my brain, but I guess it was great living with Mondo. As mentioned before, he was a great chef. So we always had great food, and there was the days when there were no cell phones. So we had one phone for the whole house. Oh, and we also lived with Debbie Rubin, and Mary Cornelius actually lived there with us. So, so Raymond actually had a relationship with my family who lives on the East Coast, because they would call and I would never be there because I was either in class or at work or somewhere. And so he really does a very good imitation of my brother. And if anybody who knows my brother, it's pretty funny. So that was nice, and it was good for my family to know Raymond because he made them relax that I was living 5,000 miles away from them and they were secure. But this whole community here in this room really is my family. And I know that it was Raymond's too. And when his mom died and he went to the mainland, I ate for her funeral. And when he came back, we had a bunch of people at the house and we had a big party. And he was so surprised. He was so surprised that his mother had just died and, oh, here, I have all these people. I told him it's an Irish week. So he would be very happy to know that we're all here and laughing and having a great time and just playing and supporting each other. So thank you for all coming here. So what else? I was going to talk a little bit about those naked days on Maui, but I think I'll pass. And then I was going to talk a little bit about how I helped him shave his head for the first time out in the yard. And but I think we want to have other people have a chance to say something. I've heard some really great stories. I hope those people will share them. I'm going to miss Raymond on the dance floor, and I hope that I don't have a drink. But I know that he'll always be dancing with me in my heart, so I'm going to miss him.
So everything that she wanted to say that she didn't, we'll all know in our own minds. We're going to open it up to anybody who wants to come up and say a few words. Johnny, you said you wanted to say something. Major Bob. Anybody else? We'll keep them brief so we can get on. Johnny 99.
Aloha.
99. I'm one of the old guys. Johnny 99. Let's see, where do we start? I can't even remember when I first met Raymond. It seems like I've known him forever, but that is true. I arrived here summer of '82, and I think it must have been cruising down Kalakaua on my rickshaw and going to Cappy Park, and it had to be a Tuesday, and there was a group down there. I said, wow, okay, Frisbee. I had never played organized ultimate before, and but there were a group, small group, and with names like Fuzz and Poach and Moley and Neptune, for those of you that remember. Mondo also, you just had to say, wow, this is a good group. So Raymond lived in Waikiki. Actually, I lived in Waikiki, and as Dave had mentioned, he worked at Nick's, and so there were many a times where I would cruise over to Nick's, and Ray would come out with a tray of food and say, "Here, Johnny, here's a little something." We didn't eat it all at the restaurant, but there's leftovers, so that got me through certainly a few years. It was really, really great. But I'm going to share a couple stories, if you don't mind. Just bear with. Ray, as we know, was such a giving, loving man, and most of you probably knew him on the Ultimate field, but I got a chance to really know Ray outside of Ultimate. We spent a beautiful week in the early 80s with a good friend, Tom Baudet, that some of you may remember that name, an old Frisbee hacky sack guy. And he invited me to spend a week down in Pololu Valley on the Big Island. And just a beautiful, magical spot where we got to do some trust walks together and got to really know each other. And it was just a time to really get to know another part of one of my dearest and closest friends. And so sharing that time, we came back to Oahu, and I have to say it's so true that Raymond is all about the frizz and the food. So that's certainly what I remember. And he lived, I'm not sure if anybody remembers, but he used to live behind Rainbow's Drive-In. I don't even remember the street name, but here we are, the summer of '82. He takes me for my first plate lunch at Rainbow's, and this guy, I tell you, he stacks it up. It's the mixed plate. He's got the terry, he's got the chicken, he's got the 2-scoop rice mac, and he's also got that 64-ounce Diet Coke. And I'm saying, my God, this guy's powering all this food, but God bless. And so he also was instrumental in our bike ride that we have organized when Kiki and his beautiful wife Maureen got married. In honor of that, we decided to go out on a boys' trip to the Big Island, and Ray certainly stepped up. He was a great chef, certainly with a few others, Kirk and Kiki, and I think actually we always had the great pokey going, and if I'm not mistaken, that may have been, on Monday when you guys are all indulging in a great pokey fest. I think it sort of came from those days that we ate great, and it was really a lot up to Ray, and he was pulling that off. So thank you, Mondo, for all that great stuff. And I'd have to say this trip has been going on for about 15, 20 years now, so we continue. On another note, so back to Oahu and some frizz. We're leaving Tuesdays, Cappy Park. Where do we head? Moose's. University. Awesome place. We were fixtures there. I think there are still some pictures in a bar someplace there of us around the corner from Anna's. But anyway, what is one of my most cherished memories are the midnight rounds of disc golf up at UH. So we'd be going up there, and Ray would be playing and, you know, doing all this stuff. And then sometimes at the end of the day, the end of the round, the hat would be flying, he'd be storming off, but we loved him just as much, and we all kind of got together the next day and said, all right, we'll work it all out. You did hit that last putt. Okay, you won the money. It's all yours. So, but I wanted to just say that Ray had turned me on to a lot of his plastic, and it's over here on the table. And these are vintage, beautiful pieces. And it's got his name on it, his disc golf number, which is a very low number. I think it's in the 900s. I'm in the thousands. I don't know, I think there's probably another PDGA member here. LD, what number are you? Oh, okay, so anyway, you know, anyway, we would like to offer, he is shared and would love if anybody wants to put a little Mondo in their disc golf bag, please do so. They're out there. You want to take one to have a little bit of Mondo with you, please do that. We'd love to share that. There's virgin plastic, but some great stuff out there that you could never buy. So, I'm sure Mondo would like me to probably toss out a couple of these to you guys. So, all of you, Mondo, we love you, we miss you, we'll never forget you. You'll always be in our hearts. And for all you disc golfers, put a little Mondo in your bag.
Johnny 99. Johnny 99, one of the most gifted athletes I've ever come across. Laura Lott, you had something you wanted to say?
Really quick. I'll be way quicker, okay? I love Mondo. We all love Mondo. He was my Idaho neighbor. Pam brushed up against the story, but there's more to it, okay? So they lived in the OEO Street house, and it was a party house. And who went to great parties there? Raise their hand. Yay! Super Bowl! And they had a landline. Who doesn't know what a landline is? Raise your hand. Okay. So they had a landline, and I went there once, waiting for Pam doing something, and there's a picture of a naked chick with like a silhouette of her butt, like the back of her. Oh, sorry. Hiking. I think I know where it was. It was hiking on Kauai, the north coast of Kauai. So it was a silhouette of this really cute girl, like her naked butt, and it was on the handle of the phone. So like the handle of the phone, it was right here, hung up. And I said something like, "Wow." And he goes, "Do you like your picture?" And I looked at it, I'm like, "That's not me!" And then I told him it was my roommate, Kelly, and he was even more excited because he really had thoughts for her. So I made his day for a year thinking it was me, and then I made his day really when I told him it wasn't. So, yay, Mondo. Oh, solar-powered sex machine. Who heard that from him? Mondo was the solar, oh, Lori's raising her hand. Yeah. Okay, love. Thank you all I'm so good to see everybody. It's so nice.
We love you!
Whole lot of Laura Lott. John Dews.
Just want to say a real quick thank you, because I don't think I ever thanked him properly for giving me his mountain bike on Mana Road as we biked around Mauna Kea. So thank you, Mondo, for giving me your bike when mine broke down for the umpteenth time.
Communication. Great job. Dave Molinar, you wanted to say something to close us out? Thank you all so much for being here. I know Mondo is smiling down on each and every one of us. We can talk story all night.
There you go. There's Lori.
Lori Daniels has a little bit to say, and then we'll get to Molly to close it out.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And Very much, hi, Saz. Very much like Gina had said, it really is amazing. I mean, I think each one of us feels like we have our own unique relationship with Mondo that's special. And then it's really wonderful to realize that all of us had this wonderful, special connection to him in our own way, which I don't mind sharing him with you. I mean, but he was so generous that obviously there was a lot of him to share. I will tell one quick story. So as you know, I was running the Hawaii State Overalls for, you may not know this, since 1993. And of course, I had to have a solid crew to help me run this tournament because I was bringing it back after many years of not being here. And so, obviously, I asked Kirk Hottendorf, and I asked Mondo Chun, and Mikey Roman, and they were my core people for the overall events. And Mondo was my go-to person, especially for double disc court. And coming from that, I mean, we ran it for almost 10 years, I think. And then a lot of people got to play DDC and Discathon and, you know, disc golf, and we tried all sorts of stuff, and it was fun. It was really, really fun. And then Mondo and I started Big Dog of the Court, which came from DDC. He won the first Big Dog, and then I won the second one, and then we never had it again because I moved. Mondo was one of the people that I wanted to reconnect with when I moved back here in 2016. And I had learned about his cancer while I was in Portland. And that made it very clear to me that I was too far away from the people I loved here in Hawaii. Sorry, Troy. Troy is he was one of my Portland Ultimate buddies, by the way. I played Portland Ultimate with him for like 3 or 4 years. So I liked being in Portland, but this was clearly my home. So once I was in Portland, especially, I'd be trying to get people to come with me to overall tournaments, right? And I wanted people from Hawaii to come. So I was able to get Jody Louie and Laura Gilda and Mondo Chun to come with me to the Arizona States one year. And Jake and I got a house, and we all stayed in that house together. So between events or whatever, we all were at home one night in our house, and Jake and I were hanging out in our room, and then Jody wanders in, and then Laura wanders in, and then we were all just sort of chatting around. You know how you just sort of hang out and chat the room? And then we heard Mondo enter the front door, and I said, "Quick, you guys, let's all go jump into bed with Jake." So we all, all 3 of us, jumped into bed with Jake, and then we all were, really quiet, and we were all, snuggling up next to Jake. And then Mondo's like, "Anybody here? Where are you guys? Where are you guys?" And he walks down the hallway, and he turns and faces into our room, and he sees Jake surrounded by the 3 of us, and he looks at Jake and he goes, "You asshole." It's a great moment, actually. And so, Mondo, I have 3 biological brothers, but Mondo to me is like a real brother. I mean, I think many of us can connect with that statement, and that's a special relationship that we have with him. And so, to all my brothers and sisters out here who were related and felt that way about Mondo, I love you all, and thank you all so much for sharing in our connection with him.
One of the most gifted throwers of a Frisbee in the world. You and I will talk after. Just kidding. Major Bob had a special relationship with Mondo.
Oh, no.
They were friends.
Special. Hey, I just want to say that, I'm a country boy from Waipahu, and I don't get into the big city too often. But on this occasion, despite the inclement weather, possible
cataclysmic storms coming. Nonetheless, I'm here to testify for my brother Mondo. You know, I'm not as close to him as maybe a lot of these other people because I didn't live and breathe in the ultimate community. I was kind of, you know, came here in the military and I was kind of a little more aloof. But I'll tell you, when I got here, you know, and I'd played ultimate in college, you know, went in the Air Force, and I played a little bit off and on through then. I got out here near the end in 1997, December of 97. And I just quit smoking cigarettes, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, maybe getting a little bit of shape. You know, I was reading the newspaper I'd just gotten in town, and I saw there's some article, and for some reason there was some fucking little squeamy article about ultimate. You know, it just caught my eye, and I hadn't even been thinking about it. But it said, oh yeah, you know, you got this crew, and you know they play pickup on Tuesdays and Thursdays down at Alamoana Park. So I'm going, well, you know. So I cruised down there. I wasn't really sure if I was going to play or not. I was just kind of, you know, I was new on the island, this and that. But like all these other people saying, I guess, I don't know, what is it? Everybody comes to the island and then Mondo meets them or something? I guess it's only the ultimate players. But anyway, so I cruised down to Ala Moana, and I was kind of hanging out on the sideline. I was looking, you know, I go, okay, this is pretty cool. And then, still wasn't sure. Then here comes up Mondo, comes up to me, starts talking, you know, he said this and that. I go, oh yeah, I just kind of done this and that. Think about playing on that show. Oh yeah, you ought to get out here. And I said, I don't know, man. I just turned 41 a couple of months ago. And he's like, oh yeah? Well, I just turned 41 a couple of months ago. It was like, oh, hey, wait a second. So all of a sudden it's like another 1956 baby in the house, you know? And it's like, well, you know, so it's like, you know, but it was just funny. He kind of encouraged me a little bit and this. And then, oh, by the way, you know, so that's why I started out again. First conversation with Mondo. And then it was like, oh, we got this big thing, you know, and then he hooked me up on Kaimana that was coming up, but all the teams were set. He said, hey man, the German team needs some players still. So I'm here proudly wearing the 1998 Team Berlin. And it was just that. And it was, you know, I'll just wrap it up by saying at the end of that tournament, you know, Friday I played, kind of came on. Saturday I was supposed to go home, you know, I didn't. I was sleeping at the field. You know, the wife, we're kind of new in town. We've been there about a month or something, but I don't show up again. But as I'm lying, I was like lying there. I was like on the phone talking to my wife, you know, and oh honey, I don't think I can drive. I'm going to stay here, you know. And Mondo hears me talking. He goes, let me talk to her, you know. He goes, you'll be all right here. We got him. And it was like later my wife said, you know, I felt a lot better when that guy came on the phone and said, we got him. And he was, I'm going, and later I'm thinking he was as fucked up as I was. But man, he knows how to come on cool when he needs to with the ladies. So all I'm saying is, the last time I saw Mondo on the ultimate field, saw him many times after that, I distinctly remember they were dipping up teams for a pickup team. And I said, well, I think I'll play with these guys. And he said, no, I'm over there. We already got one old guy that likes to huck. You know? You need to play over there. Anyways, I'm out. Thank you.
True story. Anybody else? Cool. Mullen?
And then I'll close it out.
All right, so we've all heard a lot of stories about Mondo and food, right? He was always the center of it. So I just wanted to share with all of you that Mondo had left some money he had and in communications with his family, and they're doing a family event later in March, a private event. But it was agreed upon, and so your food this evening has been paid for by Mondo Chun. Okay? So how about on 3 we give a big Mondo? 1, 2, 3. Mondo! All right, thank you.
All right, we have a beautiful cake over here. It says Aloha Mondo. So, you know, those last couple of years, I think we can all agree it was time for Aloha. And as difficult and dark as all that can be, we all know that Mondo is flying high, hucking that disc, smiling, and having a good time. So let's continue to have a good time celebrating Raymond. Let's share our stories together, and let's all raise a glass to Raymond Mondo Chun. There's very few people who could bring this group of people together in one room. So many diverse walks of life, times of life, and it was Raymond Chun. We're blessed to know him. Let's celebrate him forever. Aloha.